Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shir. We are in the Dirshu cycle of the Amud Yomi. This year is Leil Nishmas of Imoyim Menachem Ben Akiva. Ule Hatzlach. Okay, now we are Chavzayin Amud Beis, top of the page, and we've passed the most difficult part of the sugya. Now is the easier part. We're basically studying the topic of what does the Torah mean when it says beged. When the Torah talks about a garment, what does the Torah mean to say? What kind of garment? We had Rabbi Shmuel, right? We have two statements of Rabbi Shmuel. One statement where Rabbi Shmuel had three interpretations. One interpretation, which we're learning now, is when the Rabbi Shmuel said as follows: because the Torah in Parshas Tazria tells us that a beged is beged of tzemer or pishtim, wool or linen, right? So too, binyanav, whenever the Torah says beged, it means tzemer or pishtim, right? Excluding other materials, excluding silk, excluding cotton, right? It's very interesting, by the way. The four basic natural, there are more. Classically, there are four types of fabrics in the world that are used classically. There are more, and two of them are from animals, and two of them they grow. Cotton and linen, they grow from the ground, and silk is silkworms, and wool is from animals. Yeah, so two of them are the oraisa called. Yeah, two of them. There are more, but these are the four classical ones. My father, Olav Shalom, my father was a big mumche in these things. He was a textile engineer. He had a degree in university from that, and he was a big lover of Torah. I always learned. So whenever we had sugyas of to do with fabrics, I got a very good pshat from him about that. Including today, we're going to have some pshat from there. So should be Nishmasai. So la'tuya tzitzis. Now, according to opinion of Rav Nachman, what did Rabbi Shmuel mean when he said that all other garments in the Torah are tzemer pishtim? Regarding which halacha? Regarding tzitzis. It's coming to tell you that the talis, the beged, the talis cotton that's chayiv b'tzitzis is only one that's made out of wool or linen. Yeah, in other words, if you have a garment made out of silk, you're not chayiv b'tzitzis. You can walk around with your silk garment, four-cornered, without having to bichlal put any tzitzis in it. That's what he's saying. Now, by the way, that was in order to reconcile a stira, right? There were two statements of Rabbi Shmuel. One statement of Rabbi Shmuel said that when it comes to tuma, all items, all types of fabrics, the all mekabel tuma. No, excuse me, yeah, the all mekabel tuma, the all mekabel tuma. Yes. That was the previous one. So therefore, when we're metzamtzem and we said only tzemer or pishtim, that's regarding tzitzis. It's not a stira. Regarding tzitzis, only tzemer or pishtim. Regarding tuma, everybody. He says even from the rabbits, from the camels, everybody. Very good. Frag the Gemara, tzitzis behed yaksiv. Why does tzitzis need to get this import from tuma, from the goyim? It says in tzitzis behedya. What's behedya? Outright, black and white, explicitly. It says about tzitzis. There are two psukim that are. It's called in art scrollies. It's called juxtaposed. There are two psukim that are written together. It's called hekesh, by the way, in normal language. It says ksiv loy tilba shatnez semer upishtim. Don't wear shatnez, which we all know is tzemer upishtim, yeah, wool and linen. Ksiv gdilim taiselachot. It also says you should make yourself gdilim. Gdilim are the threads, right? Over kanfik suscha, and we all know the Udarshan smuchim, yeah. We had it also in Daf Chafei Amud Beis, yeah. We know that. Yeah, when the Torah puts two parshas together, they have to do with each other. Just like shatnez only applies to tzemer or pishtim, so too tzitzis, only if you have the garment of tzemer or pishtim, then you have to put the tzitzis inside. So why do you need this business from the goyim? It's right there. Yeah, you don't have to import oranges to Israel. We have it here. Yeah. Sal kedai tachamina. Answers the Gemara. Sal kedai tachamina. One would have thought like Rova, kederove. One would have thought like Rove, and we're coming to exclude from what Rove says. What did Rove say? The Rove Rami, that's a very mamish fascinating piece about tzitzis here, Hilchot Tzitzis. Rove is Rami. Rami is showing a stira. Rava is wondering about a stira, a contradiction in the psukim of tzitzis. What's a stira? Ksiv, on one hand it says, ha-konof, min konof. Rashi points out that the word akonof, which we all said a few minutes ago, right, in Ma'ariv, akonof is an extra word because it says al kanfei bigdeim. Why do you have to say again hakonof, the corner, the garment, the corner of the garment? It's telling you min konof. What does it mean, min konof? It means like this, very simple. You know what your tzitzis should be made out of, the actual tzitzis, the thread? It should be made out of the same material as the beged. A konof, min konof, which means the tzitzis should be the same min, the same species, the same material as the konof. You want to wear silk tzitzis, very fancy, so the threads should be silk. You want to wear one of cotton, the threads should be cotton. Okay. In other words, you can use whichever material you want, maybe even, I don't know, jute, I don't know, all kinds of materials. As long as the beged and the tzitzis are the same, we're happy. We're not limiting the type. Okay. And on the other hand, uksiv, and yet, as we just said, it says not like that. It says tzemer upishtim yachdov. Oh, it says right before, right, that the only types that apply, the tzitzis only applies to what? Tzemer upishtim. That's a contradiction, right? So you're telling me, yeah, meaning silk is a no-go. And then before would said, yes, silk is okay as long as the threads are silk. Now you're telling me, no, just temer pishtim. That's a stira. Answers Rove, ha-ketzad, how does that work? Up until now, we concentrated on the beged. No, we're talking about the material of the threads, which means tzemer upishtim, poitrin ben beminan ben sheloi beminan. Oh, tzemer upishtim, they really exempt minan or sheloi minan, which means that tzemer upishtim doesn't relate to the beged. The beged can be made out of silk, let's say, or cotton or nylon. Elamai, the threads, if they are made out of what? Of tzemer upishtim, they are the catch-all. They are pointer everybody. Let's say you have tzemer chutim, the gdilim, the threads, those. They are good with everything. They go with everything. Tzemer, pishtim, silk, nylon, rayon, jute, whatever you want. Ben minan and shalom b'minan. B'sh'ar minin, if you want to use threads of silk, b'minan poitrin, shalom b'minan and poitrin. You want to use, let's say, threads of tzitzis made out of silk, they only exempt silk and they don't exempt other types. They don't exempt cotton, right? In other words, the limitation is about the chutim, but the garment is always okay. In other words, the garment really is always chayiv. All garments are chayiv b'tzitzis. All garments are chayiv b'tzitzis. Elamai, according to Rava, we're not limiting the garments to tzemer pishtim. The chutim, yeah, in other words, if I have a silk robe, a silk thing, of course it's chayiv b'tzitzis. Elamai, I can either use silk, right, which is good for silk, or I can use tzemer pishtim that are catch-all. But I can't use for the silk, I can't use what? Cotton threads. That's how I reconcile them, right? But lemaisa, when we're done with Rava, clearly a silk garment is chayiv b'tzitzis. Yes, and a cotton one is chayiv b'tzitzis. And therefore the whole business of shatnez doesn't relate to the beged, relates to the threads. But a beged of silk, let's say, is as chayiv as tzemer pishtim. One would think like Rava, Kamash Malan. Comes Rabbi Shmuel to tell me, Rabbi Shmuel comes and tells me no. He comes and tells me that the only beged that's chayiv b'tzitzis is what? It's tzemer pishtim. But a beged of silk is b'chlal not chayiv. With nothing. You don't have to put any chut inside. Right? You have a silk, I'm not saying local nice, of course, but a silk, nylon, cotton is not chayiv b'tzitzis whatsoever. Why? Because he's concentrating on the beged, not on the chutim like Rava. Because he learned it from beged. You know where from? From the goyim. You thought we don't need to import it from the goyim. We do have to import it from the goyim. Because I would have learned the drosh of tzemer pishtim locally in tzitzis to talk about what about the threads. But I would have thought that the beged itself is chayiv. Any beged is chayiv, made out of nylon, made out of whatever you want, jute. Yeah, there's a thing called jute, Utah. Yeah, it's called jute. Very hard, very coarse. So, yeah, Kamash Malan, the beged has to be tzemer pishtim. Zokt Rashi, I'm not reading Rashi inside. Maybe you'll see Tosfos inside later. Says Rashi, so what will we do with the drosha of Rove? Of the Meiser Rove is right. He does say hakonof mean konof. It's an extra word. He says it's about the color. Konof mean konof. We agree with Rava, but twist it. In other words, Rava said hakonof means what? Just like your konof is silk, So if you have a conif of silk, then you put a tzitzis of silk, right? It has to be the same style. Says Rashi, no, it's the color. In other words, I saw a guy wearing a black tzitzis. People think they're very cool and very out of the box. A black tzitzis, the garment was black, yeah? Why isn't it good? It's not just a Haredi norm, apparently. Says Rashi, it says ptil tcheles, but the other ptil, which is not tcheles, has to be white. Why? Just like the garment is normally white. That's what Rashi says. In other words, the only basically the matching idea between the beged and the chutim has to be with the collar. That the collar, just like the collar here is white, so too the chut has to be white. It's true that if you have a black tzitzis, you still have to have it white because normally it's white. Yeah, but lemaisa we reject rova and we say no. We say only tzemer pishtim is chayav ba tzitzis, and we'll learn that from the goyim. That's a bishmol. What kind of thread? So now again, we said the thread of no tzemer pishtim would not be poiterit, right? It wouldn't be poiterit. Okay, weiter. Amar Avacha Brei de Rove el Ravashi. Avacha Brei de Rove said to Ravashi, Letane dever Rabbi Shmuel, according to the Tane of Rabbi Shmuel, Ma ishna le'inyan tuma demera bishar begodim dechtiv oy beged. Ma ishna. Why is it different? Why did we particularly say regarding tuma? Remember, that's good chazoro. We said regarding tuma, according to the second Rabbi Shmuel, everything. Tuma applies to any kind of fabric under the earth. By the way, I kept saying nylon. That's actually machlokes, I think. The man-made ones, I don't know. But any natural beged, yeah, tuma applies to. Why? It says oy beged, to include all types of fabric. Okay. Hochonami, here too, leima lerabus sh'ar begodim me asher techasebo, question, which means maybe by tzitzis also, what did we say by tzitzis according to Bishmor a second ago? Only tzemer pishtim. Right? We learn it from the goyim only tzemer pishtim. Well, you know, there is a pasuk in Tzitzis, not the one we say every night. In other words, it says, Gdilim tasa l'chol kanfik suscha, asher techase bo, which you cover yourself with. The word asher is an inclusive word. You know what's equivalent to in English? It's like whatever. In other words, whichever kind of clothes you wear, or that's at least one way to learn, yeah? It's all inclusive. So therefore, maybe tzitzis applies to other garments as well. Chiyuv tzitzis, maybe it should apply to silk and cotton because the word asher techase bo is inclusive. So maybe other garments should be chayv midoraisa. And says the Gemara, no. Hahu? It's true that it's coming to include, but it's coming to include something else. La tuye ksus suma hude also. Oh, it's coming to tell you that the garment of the blind, lo aleinu, a blind person also is chayv b'tzitzis. The chiyuv is that the blind person's garment is chayv b'tzitzis because one would have thought that the person who's lo aleinu blind is poter b'tzitzis. Why would have I thought that? In other words, the chiddush is asher techase bo, whichever, whatever, including who? Including the blind man, but not including the silk and the cotton. Why would have I thought that the blind man is chayv b'mitzvahs blind? There is a sugya in the Kiddush in Daf Lamed Beis around Lamed Beis Lamed Gimel. Yeah, or maybe around there, that if a blind person is chayv b'mitzvahs or not, the Moschoni is chayv b'mitzvahs. So now, why would tzitzis be different? Well, clearly, the Tanya, it says in the Braisa, what do we say every night? Ureisem oisoi. Ureisem oisoi. You should see the tzitzis. The idea of tzitzis is to see. By the word tzitzis, Rashi says lehatzitz. What's lehatzitz? To peek, to look. In Hebrew, lehatzitz is metzitz, is like to look, like to peek through. Yeah. So therefore, like the tzitzis peeks from your shirt. Yeah. Ureisem oisoi. You should see the tzitzis. Prat excluding leksus laila. We know the halacha. If you have a pajama that happens to be, let's say, chayav b'tzitzis, but it's only for nighttime, and you wear it at night. I just killed a machlokes rishonim here. But no, if it's a pajama made for the night and you wear it at night, and you have like a 90 for a man with 4 corners, you potter. Why? Because the idea of mitzvah tzitzis is to see. By night, you don't see as much. We're very choshev, modern people. If you turn off the fluorescence over here, you don't see anything, right? By night, you don't see. Hey, comes the Bryce and says, wait a second. You're telling me that the words isem oisoi come to exclude your pajama because by night you don't see, or suma. Maybe it's coming to exclude misken, the summa. The summa doesn't see. The blind man, he doesn't see. So maybe his ksus is the one exempt. Why exempting everyone's pajama? Maybe pajama is chayev. And maybe the summa, the one who lo leinu, for him it's always night, always dark, has shalom. Maybe there he's potter. Says the Gemara, the Bryson, no. Shehu omer asher techase bo. When the Torah told me an inclusive pasuk, any garment that you cover yourself with, that's coming to include harei ksus suma omu. That's coming to tell me that the blind person's cover, a garment, is included. Now, says the Gemara, wait a second. But it does say in the Torah that you should see the tzitzis. How am I mekayim? How do I fulfill that? Not leksus laila. We're coming to exclude ksus laila. So again, as we have many, many, many times in the Torah, we see it in Shas many times. We have what? We have one inclusive pasuk, one exclusive pasuk, right? One inclusive pasuk, any garment. Exclusive pasuk, no. Something to do with vision, with sight, would exclude. Obviously, the question is, yeah, why? Who told you that both night and blind have an issue with vision? So why are you including one and not the other? Why do you include the blind man's excuse, the blind man's garment? You include him from any garment, and you exclude the pajama from where? From Ulisa Maisa. Maybe the other way around, right? Maybe include night. Everyone has to wear pajama with tzitzis, and the blind man should be exempt. But who told you? Answers the Gemara. Here I use my own cup. I use my own svara. Merabe aniksus suma sheyeshnu bereia etzel acherim. Ay, 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 ay. In other words, let me stop in the middle and translate to Anglit. In other words, a suma, as we said by Chanukah, it's a very nice connection. I'm on purpose going tangential. You tell me from previous information. On Chanukah, does only the person who lights the candles as mitzvah in his family, or also somebody passing by and watching the candles? He's not going to light tonight. The other person who doesn't light for whichever reason makes a bracha, shos anisim. By Chanukah, the mitzvah is to light and to see the light, right? So to Tzitzis. By Tzitzis, if a blind man wears Tzitzis, he doesn't see, doesn't see anything. Other people see him wearing Tzitzis and they become Yer Shamayim. You see a friend wearing tzitzis, chas v'shalom, and now the guy's blind, but I see his tzitzis, I get chizuk. Yeah, in other words, it is visible to other people by broad daylight when they see it on the summa. But ksus laila exclude that from the chiyuv, because by nighttime nobody sees. Nobody sees by nighttime. I mean, Baruch Hashem, you have fluorescence, you have light. I'm saying, naturally speaking, in the middle of in the natural setting, nobody sees anything by night, and therefore it is makes more sense to exclude that. Okay, very nice. Now, Fred, so again, let's summarize. How did we get to this whole blind business? Because we were asking a question. Maybe when the Torah is including the extra garment, maybe it's coming to exclude other materials, right? Other materials, right? The silk and the cotton and stuff like that, and not only tzemer pishtim. Then we said, no. That drasha is reserved to, yes, it's including. It's coming to add and include a different questionable one about the summa. Says the Gemara, I'm sorry, you didn't really answer my question. Again, the question they have is resurges. How do you know? In other words, yeah, you have a drasha. How do you know that the drasha that you make is right? Yeah, maybe the drasha that comes to include some questionable beged, maybe it's not coming to include the blind man's beged. Maybe it comes to include the what? Silk, cotton, Utah, all kinds of things. As we've seen, by the way, why? Because we saw that by Tuma. We saw that other begodim are important in the Torah. Maybe that's the ones you should include, and not include the one of the blind man. What makes you believe in that svara more? Answers the Gemara, Mistabra, we're going to see Tosfos soon, Hashem. Mistabra, it just again makes sense logically. Kai betzemer upishtim, mera betzemer upishtim, which means kai is to stand. If the Torah is standing now, or I would say in English, since the Torah now is dealing, the topic of tzitzis is about tzemer upishtim. So it makes sense to stay at home and include another garment of tzemer upishtim although it belongs to Mr. Blind. Yeah, as opposed to Kai b'tzemer upishtim mera b'shar b'godim. Exclamation, question, rhetorical question. If I talk about tzemer upishtim, why should I branch out to other materials? Since the topic at hand is the topic of tzemer upishtim, I will include more tzemer upishtim, the one belonging to the blind. And it makes more sense to stay within the realm of tzemer upishtim. We don't like to branch out too much, right? You travel far. First to Yerushalayim, whatever, then to Meron. You go close and then further, right? And so to speak about other begodim mechitesi. Let's see Tosis inside. Let's have some fun. Tosis asks the question. Look at Tosis mistabra. Tosis mistabra, very very Tosis. Yeah, that I picked the pick of the day. Mistabra kabitzemer upishtim. Tosis asks the question. Lo shayach lemifrach. You can't ask the question. Adrabah, on the contrary. Kai beroin mera beroin. Kai beroin mera besumin. This says the same logic you can use otherwise. Normally, which one do we know has to wear tzitzis? The one who can see, the seeing person, the healthy person. I would say, listen, why should I branch out to sumin? That's crazy. That's far away. Let's talk about seeing people. Baruch Hashem, they wear tzemer upishtim. They also wear silk. Yeah, maybe talk about sumin. That's called branching out to new fields. Says Tosis, no, that's wrong. And what Tosis says is the big yesod about tzitzis. We're going to see something very important. The ikar mitzvah hi betalis v'loy ba'odom. The main player, the main item in mitzvah tzitzis is the garment and not the person. Says Tosis. What does it mean? Shim en lo talis basdalid kanfo is potur min tzitzis. Tzitzis, although obviously the chiv is on a person, not on a monkey. Of course, the person is chav to wear tzitzis, but the chiv is on the beged. In other words, the focus, the star of the show in tzitzis is the beged. Beged ksus yom, ksus laila, beged, dalit, anfes, me'ikar hadin, yeah, you don't have to wear tzitzis, yeah, b'chlal. In other words, if you have four corners, you have to put tzitzis. But me'ikar hadin, one's allowed to walk around the whole day without a four-cornered garment. Now, that's not true, because the Gemara says in Menachos, no, I think Memalef. The Gemara says over there that Rabbi Zera, Rav Ktina, I think two Amorim mentioned, he was walking without tzitzis, and the Malach came and told him, when Hashem is angry, then you better be wearing your tzitzis. That's your, I don't know how to say in English, shachpatz. Your hands are shachpatz in English. They're like the soldiers wear, anti-bomb, how do you call it? Anti-bullet, yeah? Bulletproof jacket, yeah? That's your bulletproof jacket, and nobody wants to be caught without it. That's why we wear it all the time. Even the Dalit Amis, you have to. Now, the Me'ikar Adin, no. Me'ikar Adin, there's no chiyuv on me to do it. A person Me'ikar Din Doraisa can walk around in the swimming pool, don't feel guilty. I'm saying you can walk around without the tzitzis. Says Tosis Memele makes sense. Because we focus on the beged, not on the person. When you talk about people, then suma versus no suma, that's the issue. But since the beged is a central piece over here, Memele will say no. Since we speak about a beged of tzemer upishtim, we prefer to remain in beged tzemer upishtim and include more people, rather than to start talking about a whole new type of beged that's more out of the box. Because the beged is the main story here. And therefore remain with the beged of tzemer upishtim. As far as I know, I'm not a posek, as far as I know, tzitzis, according to some opinions, it's true that tzemer is chayav d'oraisa. Pishtan is also chayav d'oraisa, but pishtan today is an issue because if you wear pishtan, you still have to wear chutim of tzemer, and then it's shatnez. And although tzitzis is doiche shatnez, it could be an issue, and on Shabbos and this. As far as I know, there are issues about it. So the best bet is to have tzemer. Also tzemer, the same time. Okay, that's why many people, that's why many people wear wool tzitzis. That's the explanation, because that's lafi, at least according to some Rishonim, that's the oraisa. Kids wear cotton, some people wear cotton. I'm not saying it's not, it's a shaila, but that tzemer is better, as we see over here. Okay, weiter. Now, Amar Abaye, we're about to finish the Amud. Amar Abaye, says Abaye. Now, let me remind you, or you can flip back if you want. That's about like 2 dapim or daf and a half before. We saw the very, very beginning of the sugya. You can see the Mishnah approaching. So at the end of the sugya, we have to close the, tie the loose ends of the sugya. At the very beginning of the sugya, we saw the Shimon ben Elazar said that the pieces of the Pishtan, right? Pishtan is Mekabel Tuma, yeah? Because it's Mekabel Tuma, you're not allowed to cover the sukkah with pieces of Pishtan or with threads of Pishtan, as we're going to see. The Mekabel Tuma of Negoim. Let me give you a small test. What kind of Tuma affects even threads that are not yet woven? Negoim, Shotzi, Mace, which one? Negoim. Oh, so even though threads are not susceptible to all types of Tuma, only to Negoim, so maybe I can put it on Meschach. It's not so Mekabel Tuma, it's only a little bit Mekabel Tuma. That's a very good channel. Let's say a new product comes from made in China, start selling it all over Mea Sharim. I don't know, it's very nice, easy. You can pack it up easily, for next sukkahs. Small threads of Pishtan, maybe it's good enough. Depends who you ask. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar is not going to advertise you. He's not going to support you. Not going to get his askama, right? He said that even though only regarding the goyim it's mekabel tuma, that's bad enough. Okay. Omar Abai, Abai does it a lot through Shas. Abai, many times he collects different opinions from all over Shas, and he says, these Tana, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dal, they all said the same thing. Omer Dover Echad. Abai does it all the time. Omar Abai, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, the Sumchus, which is another Tana, Amru Dover Echad. They both say the same thing. In other words, they both generally believe in the same idea that those items called chutim or anitzei pishtan, they also are, because mekabel tumas negoim, therefore you can't be misakech with them. Rabbi Shimon Elazar Hodamoron. We spoke. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, we just said sumchus. Which sumchus are relating to that? You bring sumchus into the same opinion. Yeah, you join him with Rabbi Shimon Elazar. Tanya sumchus oimer. Sumchus says sikho betvai psula mipnei shemetama benegoim. Oh, what does it mean sikho betvai? Here Rashi and Tosafos have a very, very big machloikis. Rashi says that, well, as we know, threads are mekabel tuma, right? Threads. Either pishtan or tzemer, mekabel tuma. What's shtiva erev? Different types of threads. Rashi says a big chiddush. Rashi says that even before they're spun, when you still have raw pieces of pishtan, yeah, Rashi calls that what the Mishnah calls anitze pishtan. Rashi calls unin shel pishtan. Pishtan that's mamash raw is also mekabel tuma, just like a thread. Tosafos says ma pitom. Tosafos says, I don't think we have time to read Tosafos inside. If we do, I will. Tosafos says, no way. I only see in the Torah shtiva erev. Shtiva erev, take it from my father, means what you put in the loom, nul. Yeah, in the loom there are threads, there are spun. Spinning is a lot of work. Spinning is a lot of work as of itself to create a thread. You don't put there are raw pieces. And Tosafos says, no, I disagree. I don't think that the raw pieces of pishtan or anything. Says Tosafos, no, only threads. So why do we have tvi shtiva erev? Says Tosafos, unbelievable. Says that pishtan, the shti and the erev, the weft and the warp, are the same. They look the same. They feel the same. Mashenkin by tzemer, they're different. Tzemer, those, as we're going to see soon, by tzemer, the ones that are standing vertically and the one horizontally are different in style. And therefore, here it's threads and here it's shtiva erev. But at the end of the day, according to Tosafos, only threads are mekabel tuma and not the stage before that. Okay, let's continue with that. Says Sumchus, sikha betvai psula mipnei shemetama benegoim. Very good. You covered your sukkah with tvai, with threads. Let's follow Tosafos to be simple. It's possible. You can't sit under the sukkah. Brocha levatol. You're eating bread out of the sukkah because it's metama benegoim. Metama benegoim. That's bad enough. It's called tomeh. Kiman. Now, who did we follow? There are two explanations in Rashi regarding Kiman. Oh, as we're going to see, Sumchus, said that Tvai is possible, and once you spin it to create a thread, it's already psula. Meaning, let me explain before we continue. According to what Gemara says over here, there are two stages to the life of the shti. The shti. The sheti, you should know, you're going to learn it later in Shabbos. You better prepare for it now because there's a lot of weaving in Shabbos. My father had the Lava Shalom, he had a weaving factory. There were like 8 huge looms, and they made horrible noise. And I used to work there in the Chofesh HaGadol. You know it's Chofesh HaGadol? You go crazy because the kids are home. I would stand there and I used to work there. So bekitzer, you have the weft. I'm a professional. So the shti or sheti, my father would call it, that's like the stationary thing. It stands there all the time. That's a basis. And the erev is like ma'arav, going from back to like weft, called weft in English. That's the one that runs around back and forth. That's the one that's being woven into the shti, right? Now that shti, when they prepared it, they didn't just weave, they didn't just spin it. Then afterwards, they would actually make it whiter and nicer in hot water, and they would take it out of the hot water. Now, soon we're going to see a machloikis. When is the shti called a kli? When is it called ready? When you spin it, or is it only called ready to be a kli after it's been washed, cleaned, and out of the hot water? Yeah, that's a shaila. Here, Sumchu says tvai. Tvi means once it's spun. Already then, it's makabel tuma. It's ready to makabel tuma. It's a question in many items. When do you finish calling it a kli for tuma? When you start, all kinds of, yeah, that's the idea. Let's see what it says. Sumchus follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Detnan. Shtiva erev metam b'menigoin miyad diva Rabbi Meir. Once you have shtiva erev, which means either this type of thread or the other type of thread, horizontal or vertical, once they are tavui, once you spin them, you make them into threads, they're right away susceptible to receive tumas negoim. And if you see green color, red, it's already Thomas, says Rabbi Meir. Meaning, although really you would like to afterwards put one of them, the shti, into hot water and take it out, it's nice if you do it. But even before you did it, it's already called a kli. It's already called mekabel tuma. And that's what Sumchus also says. Rabbi Yehuda oimer, Rabbi Yehuda, no. Ashti mishayishle. Lishlot is like to siphon, to take out. The sheti is not called ready to be a kli, or ready, it's not a kli, ready to be mekabel tuma. It's not a ready product until you spin it, put it in the hot water to make it cleaner, and then lishlot is to take it out, to siphon, take it out. Only then it's mekabel tuma. The erev miyad. Says this is the erev. Erev is the weft, the one running. I guess it's less important because it doesn't stand there. The shti is more important. I remember my father talking on the phone many times from as a little kid. Sheti. That was a word I always heard. He would, from home, he would give direct instructions to the workers in the factory. Would always talk about the sheti, that it has to be done right. It's always an issue. The sheti has to be very good. The erev is already afterwards when you run in. The shti is the basis. So they had to wash it. It had to be better. I assume that's the reason. But the erev, the one going from back to forth, that is right away. You spin it and that's it. So it's makabel tuma straight away. The unin shel pishtan mishislabnu. Oh, what about the unin shel pishtan? According to Tzitzis, unin shel pishtan are also threads, but by them there's no difference. There's no difference bechlal between weft or warp. They look the same. They're the same. And by them, once they yitzlabnu, by them you don't put them in a pot of hot water. You put them in an oven. You put it in an oven. I don't know today what they do. In order to bleach them, to make them white and nice, you put them in the oven, Rashi says. Once they are mishisadu batanu, you see Rashi before the Mishnah? Once they're in the tanur, they have to be whitened. Yeah, pishtan is very unfriendly. It has to be placed in water and this and that. You have to put it in an oven. Only then they're makabel tuma. Very nice. Okay, we're done for today. Tomorrow we have a fascinating shiur about the Mishkan, things to do. The Mishkan, also to Muvatara. I would finish now. We can start the Mishnah a little bit, yeah, just for the feel of it, although I didn't prepare it, but we'll start. Yeah, nothing, anything that comes out of anything organic from the tree, from flowers, you don't use it as a wick on Shabbos, except for pishtan. Let's say Rashi says tzemagef and cotton or canvas, I don't know, some kind of, you don't make any wicks from them. The only thing that's good for Shabbos wick is pishtan, and we're going to see in the Gemara why, right? Oh, which means we all know about tumas oihalim, right? In other words, if an oil itself is ma'ahil, covers a dead person, lolenu, and a live one, they become tomeh. What about the oil itself, right? The oil itself not Makabel Tuma. Well, except for Pishtan. If you have a tent made out of Pishtan, of flax, of linen, not only people underneath are Tameh, the oil itself becomes Tameh. We're going to see why. But otherwise, no. Otherwise, other materials, let's say you have a wooden house, you don't have to build the house, only the things inside of it. Okay, that we'll discuss tomorrow. So tomorrow we see the Mishnah Bezel Hashem, and a very interesting shir tomorrow is, again, not as hard as yesterday, a very interesting topic, so come here tomorrow. Thank you to everybody who watches us on YouTube, whoever you are, and tzlacha uvracha to everybody here. Thank you so much. Tzlacha. Shkoyach.